Your Excellency, Dr. William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya, members of your government and the delegation from South Africa, members of the media, and ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to start off by thanking you most sincerely for inviting me and my delegation to come on a state visit to Kenya. This in many ways demonstrates the very deep and strategic relationship between South Africa and Kenya. And I'd also like to reiterate our congratulations to you for your election as President of this wonderful country, Kenya, and wish you the very best as you lead this great nation to greater heights. We have just concluded meaningful discussions and very productive and constructive talks which have taken forward our cooperation and relationship in several areas of mutual interest. This visit has once again reaffirmed that our bilateral relations are based on a sound foundation of mutual respect, shared values, and friendship, and are also based on our democratic values. These principles will undoubtedly continue to serve us well into the future, especially in times of global uncertainty. We used our discussion, both our tete-a-tete and our official talks in the presence of our respective delegations, to take stock of the current state of our bilateral relations, while also exploring other areas of mutual interest and possible cooperation. And we recognize that the wonderful foundation that exists between our two countries gives rise to enormous opportunities that our two countries should capitalize on. We also witnessed the signing of agreements and memoranda of understanding, as you correctly said, and this builds on the other agreements that we had signed in the past. We are committed to ensure that the agreements and the memoranda of understanding that we have signed now and in the past will be implemented fully. You and I also took opportunity to discuss the thorny issue between our two countries of visas between South Africa and Kenya, with a view of allowing Kenyans to be able to visit South Africa on a free visa basis, that is without having visas. We agreed that indeed Kenyans should be able to visit South Africa without requiring them to have visas, and that this dispensation will commence on the 1st of January in 2023, and that our officials will speed up the processes of putting this into effect, and that this dispensation will be available to Kenyans for a 90-day period in a given year, meaning that, yes, can use the 90 days, 10 days, 20 days, or whatever. For the full year, Kenyans will have a full 90 days to be able to visit South Africa, and we will be able to review this and get reports from our ministers within a year and see how this is functioning. This will also be underpinned by other processes that we have agreed should take place, close monitoring of the implementation of this process, and also be able to have a return policy of those, as we call them, elements that would be undesirable to be able to be returned to Kenya. And this, in many ways, just strengthens the relationship between South Africa and Kenya, but more importantly, the people-to-people contact, because as you and I observed, Kenyans and South Africans have multiplicities of relations, both business, social, communal, at relatives level. They want to be able to travel, and tourism also between our two countries will be greatly enhanced through this. South Africa and Kenya are confronted by a number of challenges, almost similar challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. Since 2020, South Africa has been implementing what we crafted as the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan to lift our economy out of a prolonged period of slow growth, but a period that was also negatively impacted by COVID-19. This is not dissimilar to Kenya's recovery plan, with its 6 core pillars of agriculture, focusing on micro-enterprises, small and medium enterprises, housing and settlement, healthcare, and the digital superhighway and the creative economy, as well as the environment and climate change. There are definite opportunities for South Africa and Kenya to share experiences and good practice in the implementation of these various economic opportunities that are given rise to by the plans that we both have adopted. We are therefore pleased that the business forum that is taking place at this moment during this state visit will also be exploring a plethora of opportunities between our two respective businesses. And we are delighted that businesses from South Africa, business people from South Africa have traveled in their numbers to come here, both from the private sector and the public sector, and this endeavor they are also joined by business people from your beautiful country, Kenya. This, in many ways, gives an opportunity to make new contacts, and as I often say, they make contacts and hopefully they will move to contracts as they establish new business undertakings in various sectors of our respective economies. As leading economies in our regions, Kenya is a leading economy in East Africa, and so is South Africa, in Southern Africa. We have demonstrated a firm commitment to sustainably increase volumes of trade and foster greater investment in each other's economy. We were particularly pleased that our various ministers who straddle agriculture, trade and industry, environment, and creative sectors have been very busy looking at the various opportunities with a view of enhancing growth that can come from that. We also, during our discussions, focus on several issues affecting our beloved continent, including the situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, as well as Western Sahara. We agree on the need for peace and stability in our continent and the ending of conflicts within and between states. Besides destroying lives and livelihoods, these conflicts greatly retard progress in addressing important social and economic issues. We have therefore agreed that we need to remain focused on issues affecting our regions and our continent and not be distracted by other global matters that are not of our making. We advocate for African solutions for African problems. We took time to thank you for the role that you have played as Kenya in helping to resolve the conflict in Ethiopia between the Ethiopian government and the Tigrayans by deploying former President Uhuru Kenyatta to be joined by former President Olusegun Obasanjo of Ethiopia and former Deputy President Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka in fostering peace between the two belligerent parties. We were grateful that there was an understanding and a peace agreement that was reached, and we're glad that Kenya did play a very key role in enabling that to happen. And this lives up to having African solutions for African problems, because we have the necessary expertise, experience, the wisdom, as well as institutions and leaders who are able to help our continent to resolve problems affecting Africa. Kenya and South Africa share a common commitment to strengthen and capacitate the African Union to carry out its core mandate of social and economic development of the African people. We have called for global solidarity, fairness, and a rules-based international system, and the reinforcement of multilateralism, which Kenya and South Africa support greatly. And Kenya and South Africa are aligned on the need also to reform the United Nations system, in particular the United Nations Security Council and the transformation of institutions of global governance. You and I have just returned from COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, where both of us and a number of African countries flew the African flag with regard to ensuring that there is a just transition, as many of our countries on the African continent are currently suffering a great deal from the ravages of climate change. As you correctly pointed out, the droughts that Kenya is experiencing now are unprecedented. And similarly, the floods and the droughts that South Africa is currently experiencing now are unprecedented. And this just goes to show that climate change is serious, but at the same time, we need to make sure that the more developed economy countries that have contributed greatly to the climate damage should be the ones who carry the burden of making sure that the loss and the damage that developing economy countries like South Africa and Kenya are properly compensated, and that those countries live up to the commitments that they have made. And thank you very much for congratulating South Africa for reaching the Just Energy Transition Agreement or deal with the 5 countries. But we also are firm in supporting similar deals to be reached with countries that are currently experiencing real great difficulties when it comes to climate change, countries like your own country, Kenya. It is our hope and conviction that our relations, President Ruto, will deepen and that cooperation will grow to cover a greater diversity of areas. And as you and I said, we've just scratched the surface when it comes to opportunities that lie out there, which you and I will be outlining to the business community who we will meet later. We are building an enduring partnership between Kenya and South Africa that will benefit all our people and that will make an important contribution also to the development of our continent. So we thank you for welcoming us here to Kenya. We're really delighted and we almost feel like Kenyans today. Thank you very much.